Hello everyone, my name is Gabby and welcome back to another Dragon Ball Super review. This time reviewing episode 128. Vegeta faces off against Jiren. Completely out of stamina, he stands no chance, but refuses to give up as thoughts of his family and cover enter his mind. Jiren couldn't possibly understand what it means to fight to protect someone, but even with a final flash, Jiren is left standing and launches Vegeta out of the ring. Defeated, Vegeta gives his final energy to Goku, leaving it all to him. But even Goku still doesn't stand a chance against Jiren. As he continues to get beaten, the realization of what everyone has done for him and how everyone trusts him seems to awaken something in Goku, and that something is Ultra Instinct. So, what did I like about this episode? Well, first of all, Vegeta's final fight against Jiren. I'm just gonna have to say, this is the kind of Vegeta that I always like seeing. This is the Vegeta that I want to see. That character who is outclassed, who is facing an opponent that he can't necessarily win, but still basically refuses to give up and manages to keep on fighting past the point that anybody would think that it was still reasonable. Yeah, sure, at the end it's not like he necessarily actually beats Jiren, or that kind of heroic resolve actually leads to some kind of power-up or whatever, but honestly I think I kind of prefer it when that doesn't happen. Seeing these characters legitimately struggle and refuse to give up without some kind of secret hidden power-up waiting in the wings honestly makes their struggles feel far more kind of human and relatable. You know, it comes from the realistic conception that no, Vegeta can't win, but that doesn't mean that he's just going to give up without doing absolutely everything that he could possibly do. And not to mention, him having these flashbacks to Kaba and to Bulma and to the promise that he's made and to all of the reasons why he's fighting, it kind of makes it feel like, you know, this episode and this final fight and this sort of like, you know, Vegeta continuing to get up even though he can't win, even though you'd think he would be down multiple times. It kind of feels like this sort of culmination of everything that Vegeta has done and learned throughout Dragon Ball Super. Throughout the series, we've seen him foster relationships and learn to legitimately care about others, and now we're seeing that pay off in that it's Vegeta's relationships to others that makes him keep fighting. I like that this was the end. I like that this is how they decided to end Vegeta's character off, because it kind of sends the idea that, you know, it's not that Vegeta's relationships to the people that he cares about is that thing that's going to make him better than Goku or stronger than Goku. No, that's not what this is about. Vegeta's relationships, Vegeta caring about others is just kind of the reason as to why he's been fighting, and especially this arc. And I think I like that narrative quite a lot, and I'm glad that they decided to end his final fight on that. Not a big transformation or some kind of way he can surpass Goku, just an affirmation that he's fighting for others, and that is really the most important thing. Also, I honestly really liked, well, both of the fights with Jiren in this episode, and kind of the way that they were framed and sort of handled. In that, I think in both Vegeta and Goku's fights with Jiren, everything really felt like it had weight to it. Both physical weight, in that the fighting choreography was mostly just like simple but also very big, powerful looking punches and kicks. There's one part where Vegeta tries to grab Jiren and just sort of throw him over his shoulder, and Jiren counters by like putting up an aura on his hand, and something about it felt so grounded that it seemed really believable. And emotional weight, because both Vegeta and Goku were kind of sort of like questioning and trying to sort of prove wrong Jiren's whole thing about, you know, being strong and how absolute strength is like the only thing that matters. People might not have liked Jiren's backstory last episode, but I feel like they're definitely rolling with that idea in this episode. In this episode, Vegeta and Goku were tired. All these fights have been wearing them out. It feels like they're at their very last legs, and I feel like the visuals in this episode really kind of captured that. As for what I didn't like about this episode, so Goku manages to unlock Ultra Instinct by the end of this episode, and he kind of seems to unlock Ultra Instinct by thinking about his friends and about how much his friends trust him and about how much his friends have sort of sacrificed themselves and sacrificed things about themselves for him to get him this far. Essentially, Goku manages to get Ultra Instinct through the power of friendship. Now, I'm not trying to knock the power of friendship. I can appreciate that it is a legitimate force that can be very powerful in the right situations and can exist even in Dragon Ball. The real concern that I have and the surprise that I have is I don't really know how that necessarily relates to Ultra Instinct. Ultra Instinct is a power that comes from Goku's own abilities and Goku's own fighting techniques and Goku's own personality, not really anybody else's. After all, the phenomenon is kind of like his body reacting independently to anything else. One possible translation you could give of Migate no Gokui, the actual Japanese term that they use for Ultra Instinct, is like the mastery of selfishness. Ultra Instinct is basically pure selfishness, but Goku basically getting power from his friends and using the power of friendship is kind of pure selflessness. So it just kind of makes me confused. Is Ultra Instinct supposed to be selfish or selfless? Perhaps the idea is that truly mastering Ultra Instinct requires you to actually not be selfish, in the same way that becoming a Super Saiyan is something you have by having a pure heart and not by being a ruthless, mindless Saiyan monster killer. I do hope they know what they're doing here, because this form seemed like it was supposed to represent one thing, and this episode seemed to imply that it actually represents something completely different, and I hope they actually stick to one idea or stick to something that might kind of reconcile both of these ideas. Also, perhaps there were maybe just a little bit too many flashbacks to Vegeta hearing Bulma's voice. I mean, yeah, hearing new recordings of audio from Hiro Mitsuru is kind of like really emotional and really kind of messed up, but at the same time, I do wonder if they really needed that many clips. Especially at the end where Vegeta hears Bulma's last lines that she said in Dragon Ball Super, kind of, wishing everybody good luck. I feel like the effect could have just been done and probably would have been stronger if it was just Bulma yelling in Vegeta's head to get up. So, as for next episode, Ultra Instinct Goku is going to fight Jiren. This is it seems like. This is basically, the ultimate battle. This is the thing that they've been hyping up since the special, and that aired months ago. And while this fight seems like it is going to be significant, and at the very least it looks like it's going to be a big spectacle and look really cool, it also seems like it's not going to be the end because Goku has not fully mastered Ultra Instinct yet, and we're going to see that pretty soon. I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of what the pure, complete Ultra Instinct's design seems to be, but I am at least going to give it the benefit of doubt and actually go and try and see it in action. A lot of these designs, they seem kind of very simple at first. The animation teams at the very least try to make them look kind of unique and interesting. So I do want to see what they're going to do and how this fight is going to work and what the themes are going to be, and just everything in general. So that was Dragon Ball Super episode 128. Honestly, I really enjoyed this one, far more than I thought I was going to. I mean, at the end of the day, this was once again an episode about Vegeta having character moments about how much he cares about his family, and that happening, a fourth time in the space of 7 episodes. But at the same time, I think this time I didn't really find it as repetitive, perhaps because it wasn't some kind of excuse to give him a power-up or give him a major victory. It wasn't Vegeta suddenly starts thinking about his family and then starts fighting more seriously. It was more just Vegeta has been fighting this entire time, Vegeta refuses to give up, and the reason as to why he refuses to give up is because he's fighting for people he cares about. And then that whole idea was sent to Goku and related to the Goku fight and Goku's fight with Jiren and related to how Goku was managing to use Ultra Instinct again. Basically, this episode had a very clear theme and it didn't really feel ham-fisted. It felt like it meant something, it felt like it related to the characters' previous personalities, and it also felt like it was rooted in very real-life human emotions. It might be a little bit generic, but I do actually finally feel like the fight with Jiren is actually meaning something to these characters and to the audience and to this arc in general. I hope they have some kind of resolution to this whole thing. I hope they do know where they're going and they do have a direction for it. But at the very least, while I am a little bit disappointed over some new developments that we know are going to be happening, at the very least I do want to know how they do it, and if they're going to make it interesting, and if they're going to make it mean something, and if it's going to look cool, and if it's going to sound cool, and if this is going to be actually memorable at the end of the day. So this is Gabby signing out, and Super is on another week's break, so I'll see you all in 2 weeks. Bye guys!